So I looked at your video and kind of analyzed it to see, what you did with your lesson and stuff. And on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst lesson you taught and 10 being the best, how would you rate that lesson that you just did?
The lesson itself, I thought was a great lesson, but presentation it didn't go as smoothly as I wanted it to go. We had too much dead space in it. Didn't get the interaction. And so when I look at it as a whole, so I can't just use the lesson itself in isolation. I have to combine it with the interaction with the students. So I just give it about a 5 because I didn't get the response from the kids. I didn't ask them the right question to get the responding or the engagement from them that I really, really wanted. So I'll give it a 5 as a whole.
Okay.
I thought the lesson was good, the lesson itself, but marrying it up with the kids, it didn't promote the engagement and the learning that I wanted to take place.
Okay, so thinking about that then, what did you like about the lesson there in general? So what in the lesson, like you said that the lesson overall was a good lesson.
Okay.
So what did you like specifically about the lesson?
Well, basically, I like the standard that we was talking about. We was talking about the Declaration of Independence. And I think that a lot of our kids don't know the blood that was shed, the cost of the independence that we have now, what others, the sacrifice of others, losing life, and even the ones who survived the war, even living life with the battle scars of the war.
Yeah.
So, so I like the lesson period because I want them to realize it's more than just a piece of barbecue chicken on the 4th of July. So.
And they only know like 2 little things about it. Actually. Yeah. I get that. So I know you was talking about the engagement and like the students, having discussion amongst each other. So what would you have changed in the lesson to kind of make it go from a 5 to like a 8, 9, or even a 10?
Just the variety of questions that I need to ask. Just change the level of questions to, maybe engage the students that are a little bit lower than the other ones. Just change the DOK level of questions that I ask. I may have to just ask basic recall questions at times and not so much ask the questions that, that would ask the students to do a little bit more reasoning. And I think those were the questions I asked yesterday. When I look back on it, maybe I should have started off with the basic recall questions before I went to the more rigorous questions. So just that right there. And then to, providing prompts and, giving them a few cues so that they can help make that connection.
Okay. So what would you say in your ideal classroom then, what would you say the students would be doing pretty much differently? So when I say that, while the lesson is going on, what would you like to see amongst the students, like the environment of the classroom?
You know what we are now? We sort of we're not crippled, but I would like to see more of a collaborative type environment.
Okay.
Where we could actually, group them off, and so we can have each group working on, we got a lesson that's discussing 3 different things in that lesson. We can have this group working on the first part of it, this group working on the second part, this group working on the third part, so they can actually glean from each other's perspective of what they've actually learned from the particular lesson. So I would like to see that. I would like to see more of that collaboration. And then, of course, monitoring and walking around and redirecting, to make sure that they're going in the right direction. So I would like to see that type of environment.
So it sounded kind of like what you're getting at is almost like a jigsaw type of thing. So where like the kids, they kind of gather their own information about something, and then taking that information and kind of talking about it with another group of kids, and then they're kind of like talking with each other, kind of going back and forth, having that dialogue with
Mhm.
each other and
Mhm.
collaborating with each
Mhm.
other. Okay. So thinking about that then, my next question is pretty much like, how could we measure that change? So when I say like, how could we measure that change? Like, how would you know that they're actually getting something out of that? How would, like, what would you do to kind of measure, like, would you give them like an assessment, like a formative assessment?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, and that's how, and that's gonna guide our next, lesson,
Mhm.
those formatives. And do we have to stay where we are, or can we move forward? So we have to give them maybe one or two, maybe a discussion question,
Mhm.
overall arching discussion question that covers everything that we're trying to, accomplish in that lesson. And then I can gauge it from there.
Okay.
Just a basic formative. Yes.
Okay.
And not so much of a, where it has to be evaluated.
Yeah.
Or graded.
Mhm.
Just seeing what, did they learn?
Mhm.
Or they grasping the concept?
Okay. Okay. 'Cause I know you had the quiz. So can you tell me a little bit more about, so what were you, in your Nearpod, you had, like y'all went through the
Yeah.
Declaration of Independence, and then in your Nearpod, not really like I don't know if you took it for a grade or not, but like, I know you had like a little quiz section in there. Like, what did you use that quiz for?
Basically, just an assessment over what we have covered so far, because I think if we wait to the end, it's too much for them to eat.
Mhm.
So I like to break it down as we cover, 2 or 3 points. Okay, let's see where we are right now, see what we understanding, see where everybody is. So that's what I basically use. So it's just a comprehension check.
Okay.
Just a
see if
comprehension
they know
check.
what they
Yeah,
talking
to
about.
see where we are at this moment. Is everybody, it'll understand of where we are. And then if don't do so well on it, then we can sort of kind of not all the way back up,
Mhm.
but then I can, prompt or give them a cue, okay, remember such and such, we talked about this right here. And then they say, okay, yeah, I remember that. So that's what I basically use it for, to make sure everybody's understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it's too much. I think it's too much to wait after you did focus instruction for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Now, you ask 5 or 6 questions.
And they be like, what? What you
What?
talking about?
I was biting my nail then.
I didn't know what you said. That whole, I was over here in La La Land for 10 minutes, and I came back in the last 5, and y'all did it. Okay, so then, thinking about that, when we were talking about the discussion and maybe possibly having them kind of write out their thoughts.
Mhm.
When you're saying that, would you like it to kind of be like a discussion amongst each other, where you're kind of fostering that kind of in a way, like fostering discussion, going back and forth, or almost like a debate type of style?
Yeah, I would love to see you get to that point right now,
Mhm.
to debate. I don't think we're there yet.
Mhm.
And that's more so on a guided,
Mhm.
guided right there, and I would have to throw out little hints.
Yeah.
As I'm walking around, as they collaborate, I'll have to throw out little hints to kind of, add a little bit more fuel to the fire.
Mhm.
Because I would love to see when they get to the point to where debating, then that's when their true personality
Yeah.
and that style of learning is coming out then. But y'all would love to see that.
Okay, so would you want that to be like your goal then?
Oh, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely, because then we're on that next level then.
Mhm.
Then we're doing the reasoning,
Yeah.
you know what I'm
You're
Then-
in
yes, and that's what I eventually want to get to. And I know we have to bring them up to that. We got to bring them up to that. But yeah, I would love to see that.
I got 3 more questions that kind of follow up to that
Okay.
goal. So if you could hit that goal of them being able to debate and discuss amongst each other, where they're really up there in that high DOK level,
Mhm.
would that really, and you can be honest with me, would that really matter to you?
It won't.
Mm-hmm.
It won't. It really won't. But I would love to see that because reasoning is a part of life.
Yeah.
When we do the connection to the real world,
Mhm.
you have to be able to reason.
That is true.
You got to be able to critically think through things to see what's the best route to take. So, but it won't. But I want them to know this is something that they need to develop
Mhm.
throughout their education.
Yeah.
At least plant that seed now, and hopefully they'll mature to it before they actually, graduate.
Yeah, I mean, they only 8th graders. They
Yeah.
still got 4 more years to go after that.
Yeah.
Thank you for your honesty. I like that. Number 9. So, what teaching strategy? So, like thinking about getting them towards that discussion, debate goal of kind of like fostering and reasoning with themselves and reasoning with others. Like, what kind of strategy would you take to kind of get to that goal? Do you have
Well,
anything in mind?
Yes. I'll start incorporating the activities where we start reading the passages and answering questions and make them open-ended questions, not so much a right or wrong.
Okay.
You know? So read the passage, then we got an open-ended question. So now they're not handcuffed to one way of thinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if you got a passage and you got 4 or 5 questions related to the passage, I want them to read the passage. Yeah, you got certain facts in about it, but we'll put an open-ended question that's related to the passage. So now we can really get them to start to think a little bit more broadly.
And even with Nearpod, I know you're using Nearpod for the lesson. Even with Nearpod, you can put that open-ended question in, and then you can also share it. Because the kids get a little shy when their names pop up and stuff. So you could possibly even share and then ask the students. That could be a goal towards having the students kind of when you share, be like, hey guys, do y'all agree with this? See what they say, kind of, prompt them, scaffold them towards maybe somebody might disagree with someone else, and they can say why they disagree, and that can start to lead to them being able to kind of have that discussion of, well, why do you disagree? And then maybe the person who wrote it might have something to say, back, and that could kind of prompt that, okay?
Actually, before we move on, I used it, but it didn't go over so well because I hadn't actually taught them.
Okay.
I hadn't actually taught them, so I kind of refrained from it from right now until we get them to that level. So initially in the beginning of the year, and maybe because we had been out so long.
Yeah. 5 months. 5 months, long
So
time.
you know how that works. But initially, but I didn't get the engagement I thought I was gonna get. So I sort of kind of refrained from it. I said I gotta bring them up to this level. We're not ready for that open-ended question right now.
Okay.
So that's my biggest goal right now. We're trying to get them to that, but like we discussed earlier, if I don't get it there, I won't be disappointed.
Okay.
I won't be. But it's a goal. I want to get them there, but I won't be disappointed.
Okay. So to get them, to start trying to get them there, what would be your next steps to see if you could possibly start to get them towards that level of kind of like discussing amongst each other? Like, what would you do next? Like, maybe in the next unit or 2 units from now, like, what would you do next to kind of get them towards that?
Well, basically, like I just said, we just got to start doing more guided reading activities. You have to do that. And I think that'll help. That'll help me get them there. That's a start. You say that.
Yeah.
That'll be a good step in the direction that I want to take them. So we'll start doing that, and hopefully, we can eventually, get them to the point to where, because I think this is what I think now. I think it's in them, but they don't want to seem to be wrong. And that's why I want to start with an open-ended question instead of reading the passage. Then you got certain questions that you answer, then you evaluate it on.
Yeah.
I think the open-ended question where they can be, okay, this is what I gleaned from it right here. And so you at liberty to post what you perceive from it. So and that's what I want to get. First of all, I want them to get them to open up and not worry about if I'm wrong, I'll be laughed at.
Yeah.
And I think they're a little apprehensive.
They are apprehensive about that. This group of students, they are apprehensive. Like, we just had that meeting about the confidence.
Oh yeah, yes.
Confidence, and I think they go across all classrooms, actually. All classrooms that we have.
Oh yeah.
That we have. Confidence is up and down with some of them. So, but thank you, Mr. Bain.
Oh, thank you.